Hey, this is Ryan Jones, and this is a video about building a serverless plugin. So I've talked with the serverless people over at the serverless.com website, and I've proposed an idea for building a plugin called serverless termination protection, and I'm going to try to build that on video. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to transition very smoothly. There we go. Look at that. And then let's actually switch to our terminal. Sweet. And then over here on this side, we've got the serverless termination protection repository. This is on the Serverless Guru organization. It's going to be public. So let's go ahead and start building something. So I don't know the entire command off the top of my head, but I know that you can use a serverless template to speed this up. So let's look for serverless template plugin. We should get, here we go. So the serverless documentation, that's for open source plugins. Let's open up the first plugin for the Serverless Framework one, and then also Serverless Framework commands. If you remember a while back, we wrote like a pretty comprehensive thing about like creating your own templates where you can actually link back to a GitHub repo. That's on Medium. You want to check that out. And then search for plugin. There we go. So you can say AWS create template plugin path serverless termination section. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and CD into that. And then we'll open it up in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now we've got this code here. Go ahead and look into how to build this thing. There should be, go to how to write your first plugin. If you haven't seen this article, you should check it out. We're going to move through this. So create template plugin, good. Plugin is a class, and it says define your commands. So you can see here that it says helps you start your first serverless plugin. That's the usage. So that would be like a terminal feedback that you get. And then we also have lifecycle events like hello and world. So let's go ahead and do something like, let's try opening up a terminal and then typing serverless hello. Welcome. Okay, let's see what we're missing. Okay, so it says in the bullet plate we initialize using the CLI command serverless welcome is added. Usage, you can specify a hint of how the command should be used. The hint should appear serverless -- help. Lifecycle events, the crucial bit in any command is the lifecycle events array. Lifecycle events allow you to define the steps that are most likely to be taken while executing the command. Cool, so that would be like for other stuff like Android development, that might be like on create, on load, things like that. And then let's look at, these are the lifecycle events for the serverless deploy command. Yeah, so clean up, initialize. A thing that we do at Serverless Guru a lot is we actually tap into some of these. There's a plugin called Serverless Plugin Scripts, which I can pull up. So this plugin allows you to tap into the lifecycle events. So you can see that down here. They have this section called hooks deploy, or it's like called hooks, and then you can tap into those hooks. So like these are considered lifecycle events, or you could call them lifecycle hooks, and you can basically tap into any one of these. So like imagine when you were doing like automation for deploying something, you wanted to run something before, right? Well, if you want something to run when the stack is deploying, then you could actually add something here. So maybe it like builds a file or it does an API request. You can use this like serverless plugin scripts, and then use a lifecycle event for the actual serverless deployment, and then that together, yeah, it's pretty powerful. I might actually have something on YouTube for that. If we go to, actually, if we go to the training site for Serverless Guru, let's see if we can get in there. Oh, training.serverless Guru. So I think mine, see if I can remember the password first try. Probably not. Nope. Times. Well, that might have worked. Okay, cool. So this is actually behind the scenes, and in the Serverless Guru console, you can see we have 59 accounts, 60 enrollments. Let's go ahead and look at learning content, courses. I guess I didn't necessarily need to jump into the actual backend of Serverless Guru, but I'm pretty excited about this. So if we go to all courses, and then we have the Serverless plugins course here, it has 10 lessons. If you jump in here, you can see that we have a whole bunch of different stuff. So the first thing, serverless plugins overview, and then we have some deployment, infrastructure, and testing. We can see here custom scripts. So if you wanted to learn about custom scripts, you could come to this one here. And this would also be on the YouTube. You can click resume course or join course if you haven't. You'll probably need to register first. And then there's a couple of videos in here that are getting you started. I think I actually go through this part initially as well. And then inside of custom scripts for the serverless plugin scripts, this video is about using just like lifecycle events and things like that. So if you want to learn how you can actually build your own plugins, you can actually come here, see how I'm doing this part of the video. If I pause it, I'm actually so right there, and I can zoom in. In this video, I'm showing you how to actually get into a hook and say like after deploy finalizes, echo something, right? So like that's a terminal command for actually saying something. So what you could do there as well, instead of an echo, you could basically say after deploy is done, you know, make this request, or you know, create this file, or deploy this other thing. There's a lot you can do there. I really like that serverless plugin scripts thing that I showed you, that plugin, and I cover it in the Serverless Guru training course here. So definitely check it out. Also, there's other stuff like if you want to learn how to deploy a serverless website, or a CloudFormation stack, or get a smaller package size, or get .env support, all these things are also in there. So check that out. Sweet. And let's go ahead and switch off of this. And let's go over to the article that we were reading. Cool. So clean up and deploy, we have a list of tasks we should fulfill on our way to deploying a service. We won't write any implementation. We're only describing the process. The advantage of this approach is that it doesn't tie us to one way of handling deployment. As such, you can see the command definition as a guideline that you can use later on to write your code. This makes it more readable, self-documented code. So options. So down below, it says that we're going to see some options here. So this .commands. You can see here that this is an object with looks like two properties. No, a single property, which is called welcome. So this commands object, every time that you want to add a command to a plugin, you're going to be adding an object underneath this .commands. So for us, we have welcome, and then we have a usage for it. We have the lifecycle events. Then we have options, so a message, and there's also a usage underneath that message. So this would be specify the message you want to deploy, e.g. -- message or -m. That would be a shortcut. So when you look underneath this options object, it looks like message is actually the flag. So if you wanted this to be called like name, you would do name here, and that would allow them to pass -- name directly into the serverless command. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and scroll down. The options section can be used to describe which flags can be used in the CLI command. I think we just covered that. This definition message option is required, and a shortcut -m, so you can equally write serverless welcome message or serverless welcome -m. As with the command itself, we have a usage description which appears. This is actually a typo, I think, in their documentation or in this article. As with the command itself, we have a usage description which appears when asking for help. The serverless welcome -help. Yeah, so if you do that, it'll automatically go to this usage section and spit this out. So it'll say welcome and then this here. Requirements for defining a command. So the snippet above define lifecycle events, help description, and a flag. For the flag, we have again a help description section, information whether the flag is required, and the flag shortcut. As you can guess, not all of them are required. A very minimalistic approach would be something like this. So we have options down here. So this would be what you can pass to the terminal, so like --m. And then we have lifecycle events for hello and for world. So this will work a very similar way to the definition above. However, it won't provide you with an automatic checking that the required option is passed. That's something good to note here, is that this part is basically saying you have to pass -- message, otherwise the command will break. So it says, from this perspective, I'd suggest spending the time with writing up usage requirements and shortcuts. It will make it significantly easier for your users. So for us, we'll do something similar to that. Defining the commands and their lifecycle events is useful to describe what the plugin does. Hooks describe how the plugin does it. So as I said, if you check out the Serverless Guru training site and look at that, and all those videos are free, by the way, so you're not going to have to pay for that. So if you want to just get a quick start on what lifecycle hooks are, check that out. And then you can then find them right under the command of the constructor. So we have the class serverless plugin. We have a constructor here for serverless and options. We have hooks. So we have before, welcome, after. All these ones will then run code. So we can see here that if somebody says welcome, the thing that's going to happen first is before welcome hello. It runs this dot before welcome dot bind. So it's binding it to this command. Okay, so this lifecycle hook. And then here, somebody says after it runs before welcome hello, it runs welcome hello. That will then run welcome user. And then after that, it will run display hello message. And then it'll display after hello world. So those are the 4 lifecycle hooks that we have for our code. And these are the 4 functions on the right side that we're using to actually add functionality to this serverless plugin. Okay, so it says hooks help us define the implementation of each step. So I think we covered that. The welcome hello defines what to do at step hello of command welcome. Before welcome hello describes what to do before the first step. Similarly, after welcome world defines what to do after the last step. This gives you very fine-grained control of what the command does at each step. Remember, you don't have to define every step. Maybe in your particular implementation, you only care about world and not hello. That's totally fine. Later on, someone else can come up with their own plugin and define their own implementation of the welcome plugin based on the steps that you've seen so far. Implementation. After having defined the command, it's the lifecycle events and how we hook them into them. All that's left is the actual implementation. The details are obviously specific to the plugin you're writing, which platform you're targeting, etc. In the template, we're only logging out greetings and the message we passed it. So we can see here before welcome, welcome user, display hello message, after hello world. So if you scroll back up and you look at what these commands, these lifecycle hooks, are being attached to, it's before welcome, welcome user, and display hello message. And then you can see that down here as well. So if we flip to our code, we should be able to see this too. So let's go ahead and start from up here. We see the serverless plugin class. We see the constructor. We see us basically attaching this to our class variables with this.serverless and this.options. Then we have this.commands. This defines what can actually be run in the terminal. So for our case, let's add something here that says SLS, or you can type out the full thing, serverless -- welcome, or sorry, serverless welcome -- message, and then we could say time for ice cream. Sweet. And then also let's do SLS welcome -m time for ice cream. So both of those are the same. And let's see, if we scroll down, we can see the -m there is the shortcut. We can also run SLS welcome -- help, and that's going to run this help command here. And then we have our lifecycle hooks. So each one of these gets, these are lifecycle hooks. And these lifecycle hooks allow us to tap into the different functionality, like before welcome hello, as we saw. And really it's just this whole thing of like, if after you define these lifecycle events up here, these things are naturally going to happen down here. And you can then attach a function to actually run some command. So for instance here, the before welcome, if we just focus on that, you can see that it's using this .serverless.cli. So what that tells you is that this is going to use the CLI to do something. And in this case, it's going to use the CLI to log a message. So we could come in here, we could change this message, and we could do some other functionality. Like we could get way more complex with it. We could take the stack ID or something and make a CLI command. There's a lot of stuff that we can do there, which we'll get into in future videos. And then welcome user, so this .serverless CLI log, then your message, so you can add in something else there as well, and it just keeps going down that list. Something that's interesting here is display hello message. It runs this .options.message. So if we scroll up, you can see this .options.message. That's interesting because I think that that's referring back to the command. So we'll have to look into that. But let's go ahead and switch back to the article and keep going. So thank you, Anna, for putting this together. And then let's move to the second part. Okay, so before I jump into this, I'm actually going to stop the video here. That way they stay somewhat relatively short. Then we're going to go through the serverless plugins part 2 and continue implementing this. And then in future videos, we'll start looking at actually building out our termination protection plugin. So yeah, stay tuned. See you next time. This is Ryan Jones. Peace.